So comes the snow after the fire, for even dragon cocktails have their endings. Hello and welcome to Intoxicated Masculinity. For Wednesday, we have a cocktail video coming at you. Today's cocktail, I really don't have much in the way of history to talk about. It is going to be the Formidable Dragon. It is from Smuggler's Cove by Martin and Rebecca Kate. The name comes from an admiral who said that drunkenness was a formidable dragon and something that was difficult to deal with. Other than that, this is just kind of an interesting little tiki cocktail. I feel like with the weather outside right now being a bit on the warm side, people probably want some kind of refreshing beverages. So that's what we're going to do. Again, since I don't have much history, we're just going to go right into making this cocktail. Okay, so we're going to start off with our citrus. So in this case, we're going to use 3/4 of an ounce of lemon and 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. In this case, both freshly squeezed. Alright, once we got our citrus, we've got our honey syrup. And this we're just going to use a 1/2 ounce. So this is just a simple syrup, except instead of using sugar, you use honey. Honey is really good in cocktails, but trying to put honey directly into a cocktail is very difficult because cocktails are cold, and honey does not dilute very well once it's cold. It does when it's warm. So you just mix 1/2 and 1/2 your honey with your water, and it becomes very, very pourable. All right, the next ingredient is kind of a weird one. So this is, we're going to use 3/4 of an ounce of a molasses simple syrup. So this is essentially just like a rich simple syrup. So this is a 2-to-1 ratio of sugar to water, but you add in this case, I have the recipe, I added in 2 ounces of molasses. And you very much get the molasses on there. So in this case, we're going to do 3/4 of an ounce. The only thing I fear when looking at this recipe is that this cocktail might end up being a little sweet, but that's all right. And the other problem I had on here, this calls for Amaro di Angustura. I don't have Amaro di Angustura. So what I did is I took what I think is probably going to be the next best thing that I have. They describe Amaro di Angustura as being a bit spicier of an Amaro, and I think Cynar is going to do well with that. I was thinking about Amaro Montenegro, but it's a little too sweet, and I think this is going to be a little better. So we're just going to do a 1/2 ounce of our Cynar, which is replacing our Amaro di Angustura. Now the rums in this are kind of interesting. They go in depth, and I am not a rum expert. I am an appreciator of rum, but I'm not a rum expert. They give sort of a few examples of what rums to put in here. And so I'm using some of what they are sort of talking about here. So we're going to start off with our Pampero Aniversario. And this is going to be our primary rum. So this one we're going to do 1.5 ounces. 1.5 ounces. And one of these days I am going to do a little more research. We're going to kind of do a full-on episode about rums because I think they can be very confusing. The thing with rums, different from most other spirits, most spirits are per country. So if you buy cognac or armagnac, it comes from France. If you buy bourbon, it comes from the United States. And there's one set of laws that govern how you make that spirit. Rum is made everywhere. And so there really isn't one set of rules governing it. We're also going to do an ounce of Dourly's XO. And this is a Barbados rum. Here in the States, I think you can only get it at Total Wine. It is a very, very reasonably priced rum, and I would highly recommend having that on your back bar. It's cheaper than some really, really great rums and also better than them. Now, originally I wanted the final ingredient to be a Wray and Nephew Overproof until I realized right before I started filming that I do not have a Wray and Nephew Overproof on hand. So I'm going to use a Diamond Reserve. This is a Guianan rum and not a Jamaican rum. But I think it's got a lot of interesting character to it. It is also an Overproof. It's a 151, and we're just going to do 1/4 of an ounce. Just a little bit of that. Toss out the shaker. All right, now let's grab us some ice and shake it up. All right, we got a lot of ingredients here, so you want to make sure you give it a real good shake. Now, this actually calls for a large brandy snifter. I don't have a large brandy snifter, So we are just going to use one of my wife's beer goblets. Okay, now you'd probably be just fine open pouring this, to be honest. This is a nice tiki cocktail, and it's gonna be fine. I am a OCD. I like to have everything nice and clean. So I'm gonna double strain. All right, and also with this, we're going to go ahead and top that off. It's just a little bit of seltzer. So once we've got our seltzer in there, we're going to use one of our little straw spoon thingies. Just give it a little bit of a turn. You don't want to really be stirring it up. And we're going to go ahead and garnish that with my mint that I just had a second ago. Going to garnish that with our mint. Just give it a little slap. My mint is a little bit, is not dealing with the hot weather very well, so it doesn't look perfect, but there you have your Formidable Dragon. That's really good. It's a very, there's a lot of evolution. There's a lot of ingredients obviously going on in this. I think initially what you get is the molasses from the Molasses Simple and some of the rum. And then the fruit kind of comes in, the citrus kind of comes in a little bit later. And it makes for a very kind of refreshing finish. If you're real sensitive to sweetness, I might cut back on your molasses syrup and your honey syrup just a little bit. Maybe go 1/4 ounce and 1/2 ounce instead of 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce. I don't think it's massively oversweetened, but it is a sweet cocktail. All right, kind of a short one today. I know we don't have a lot of history to talk about, but I think that's something you'll very much like when you're sitting by the pool or trying to get over the incredible heat and humidity that we're dealing with right now. That being said, I want to thank everybody for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and have a good drink, and have a good day. So we're gonna use one of my wife's beer goblet.
Goggles? Beer goggles? Is that what you want to say?
One of my wife's beer glasses.